Chapter 331, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 3. Alright, you're dismissed. Elder Song waved his hand impatiently. Emily hastily bowed and replied, understood. After saying his acknowledgments, Emily brimmed with curiosity as he turned around and headed out of the room. It wasn't until he left their sight that Song Ran withdrew his gaze and chuckled. Old man Xiao, the little girl Emily mentioned was the talent I was talking about. She really has boundless mental power. If you don't believe, we will find out during that exam. Elder Song smiled confidently. It was a mystery why he had so much faith in that girl. So what if she is what you said? You also mentioned that the little girl came from outside the central region. How can there be outstanding alchemists in a place outside the central region? They are just a useless mob. Thus, even if that little girl's innate talent isn't bad, she still might not be able to pass the exam. Xiao Yu frowned slightly. Compared to what Elder Song had said, he still felt to his bias that this old fellow had made a mistake. Boundless mental power? How can that be? Only Senior Yu from 1,000 years ago possessed tyrannical mental power. Hence, it would be impossible for that girl to have that much mental power unless she was the reincarnation of Senior Yu. But was that possible? Xiao Yu shook his head while smiling. Senior Yu was a legend to them and none would be able to succeed her. 3 days passed quickly. It was soon the day of the exam. Several people showed up earlier and sat at the spectators' seats, looking at the pill refining furnaces at the center of the exam area. Little Yu Er, go for it. Yao Yuncheng stood up from her seat and waved her hands toward Mu Ruyu, who was within the examination area, to cheer for her. Her delicate and pretty face was flushed red from excitement. In the exam area, a white-robed young girl's hair fluttered without the aid of the wind. Her lean body gave off an extended shadow beneath the sunlight. Yao Yuncheng's gaze was slightly dazzled. The current Mu Ruyu had a peerless appearance that captivated the crowd. When Zhang Qingshui looked at the peerless young girl on the stage, her nails pierced into her palm. Jealousy flashed in her eyes. I must definitely have that woman make a fool out of herself before the crowd this time. Zhang Qingshui shifted her gaze to the navy blue-clad figure after whispering that to herself. With a smirk, she muttered, Zhang Lin already indicated to me that no matter what she wouldn't be able to refine pills. How could Zhang Lin not obey her instructions as the sister of the Zhang family's young master? Mu Ruyu, you shouldn't have agreed to the hall master's request. How can I give up on such a good opportunity? Zhang Qingshui's heart seemed to have been struck heavily by a needle as she thought about the humiliation of being stepped on by Zi Chenjing that day. It was so painful that she had to take in a breath. If it wasn't for that woman, how could that youth have treated her in such a fashion? Zhang Lin nodded to Zhang Qingshui before walking past Mu Ruyu's side discreetly, a trace of maliciousness in his eyes. Cough. Cough. Song Ran and Xiao Yu walked onto the stage with the crowd's gazes on them. Song Ran cleared his throat before scrutinizing the crowd. His gaze paused on Mu Ruyu for a bit before he continued, Everyone, it is the exam day once more. I am sure that everyone is well prepared for it. I won't talk about any more nonsense. You are to refine a fire element pill this time. There is no grade restriction on the pill, but your pills must be 60% filled with fire element. Generally, pills were assembled using the elements in its surroundings, so a single element pill would be exceptionally difficult. The crowd looked at each other with grim expressions. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 332, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 4. Chapter 332, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 4. Alright, the competition will start now. You will only be given the time needed to burn half an incense stick. Once the time is up, those that hadn't refined their pill will also fail. Song Ran sat down and said this indifferently. Swish. Ru Yue suddenly waved her hand and a flame was shot toward the bottom of the pill furnace. Following that, a medicinal ingredient was held in her hand and she tossed it into the pill furnace after sweeping a trace of mental power on the medicinal ingredient. Her heart calmed down gradually as she focused her sight on the pill furnace before her. Elder Song, is that the genius you were talking about? Xiao Yu frowned as the medicinal ingredients that she took out was plain and ordinary. Her ability was still unknown. Song Ran was slightly uneasy as even if one had strong innate talent, it didn't mean she possessed the same standard of skills. Perhaps her talent might be ruined from being outside of the central region. Hence, he was still a bit obscure on Ru Yue's ability. Ru Yue released her mental power to cover the pill furnace. The medicinal ingredient liquefied under the temperature of the flame. Following that, she added the next ingredient. As minutes and seconds passed, the other examinees started to refine their pill. At that moment, a tense atmosphere covered the entire examination area. Boom! Suddenly, a loud explosion sounded that made everyone look in that direction. The moment that the pill furnace shattered, the young girl's expression was cold. Her brows was slightly creased with a trace of light that flickered in her cold eyes. Ha! Zhang Lin sniggered as he looked with disdain at the young girl's impeccable appearance. Your furnace exploded in such a short time frame. You are only at this standard. The crowd expressed mockery as they looked down on the white-robed young girl. The disciples that participated in the exam were rather capable. The young girl's standard was too terrible to make the pill furnace explode in such a short time. It was a wonder why Hall Master Mo Li allowed her to participate in the exam. She was just here to humiliate herself. If it were them, they probably didn't have the face to stay. Little Yu Er. Yao Yuncheng stood up abruptly as she glared furiously at Zhang Qingshui, who had a cynical expression before looking worriedly at Ru Yue. Zi Chenjing kept quiet, but a trace of coldness passed his eyes as he swept a glance at Mo Li. It seems that some people are in need of a lesson. Zi Qianjing smiled faintly. His languid smile was so captivating, but his eyes remained cold. Elder Cho, did you see that? Song Ran's eyes turned grim. Something went wrong with that little girl's pill furnace. Someone had did something to it that led to its explosion. Xiao Yu didn't say a thing, but nodded lightly. That person must have a lot of guts to do something before them. After keeping silent for a while, Xiao Yu looked at Elder Song and asked, what to do next? What can we do? Elder Song smiled bitterly as he continued, the number of the pill furnaces correspond to the number of examinees, so there aren't any spares. If we were to retrieve one now, the time would be insufficient. His gaze turned sharp after saying that. If I were to know who sabotaged the little girl, then, Song Ran kept mum for an instant before raising his head and said, everyone, there is some abnormality in a pill furnace this time. The exam will be stopped temporarily. I will dispatch someone to retrieve a pill furnace before continuing the exam. The crowd instantly became clamorous after hearing that. It was due to being unsatisfied with Song Ran's decision. The refining of the pill had started. How could they stop now? If they were to stop, all of their hard work would be wasted. Was it worth it for just one person? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 333, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 5. Chapter 333, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 5. Elder Song, please reconsider. Mo Li's expression changed drastically. He hastily went forth and bowed, saying, Elder Song, it is due to her inadequacy in pilling refining that led to the explosion of the furnace. It is her own mistake. How can we stop the exam just for her? How can the rest of the examinees be satisfied? Since she didn't refine a pill, you just have to announce that she failed. Song Ran narrowed his gaze as he examined the mid-aged man before him. Mo Li panicked slightly under his gaze. He immediately lowered his head and became anxious. It can't be that Elder Song discovered something, right? But even if he knew something was wrong with Mu Ruyu's pill furnace, he wouldn't be able to suspect me as I've already eliminated all the evidence. But Emily, you overstepped your status. Song Ran looked calmly at him, but his voice contained suppressed fury. Emily's body shuddered as he tightened his fists and didn't say further. Why is Elder Song protecting that girl? Why? Glimmers danced in his eyes as unease filled his heart. If he still couldn't see Elder Song's favoritism on Mu Ryu, he wasn't worth being Hall Master of the Alchemy Hall. Elder Song, what Emily said isn't unreasonable. To pause the exam for a person is really, Shoyu sighed and shook his head. No matter what, the exam was more important. Just as Elder Song wanted to say something, a calm and collected voice was heard. You don't need to. Mu Ryu raised her gaze slightly as she continued indifferently, I brought my own pill furnace. You don't need to pause this exam. Emily was stunned as he lowered his gaze to the examination stage. Suddenly, an enormous pill furnace appeared before the young girl. It emitted a red glow that shone throughout the examination stage, and the phoenix on the walls of the furnace were so lifelike. This is, Song Ran stood up suddenly as he locked his gaze on the phoenix furnace. This is the phoenix furnace. That's right, it is the phoenix furnace that was depicted on the wall at the back mountain. Song Ran's breath hastened. To alchemists, the phoenix furnace was priceless. Wasn't this phoenix furnace used by Senior Yu in the past? Why has it fallen into her hands? His gaze became excited as he thought about that. The world knew that Senior Yu had previously possessed two divine instruments. One was the Heaven Dragon Flame Sword and the other was the Phoenix Furnace. When she passed, those two weapons disappeared simultaneously. It was beyond his expectation to be able to see a divine artifact of the Phoenix Furnace in his life. Boom! A violent fire burned in the Phoenix Furnace. Under the flame, Mu Ryu used her mental power to envelop the medicinal ingredients within as she placed it within the pill furnace. She has a personal pill furnace. Emily's expression changed slightly as he would never have thought about that. Moreover, that pill furnace looked extraordinary. Glimmers danced in Emily's eyes as greed appeared within. He didn't have the qualification to enter the back mountain, so he naturally didn't know that what Mu Ryu possessed was Senior Yu's legendary divine instrument, the Phoenix Furnace. Elder Song suppressed his excitement after looking at the incense that had already been burned for quite some time already. There is still half of the time left. Everyone, do your best in refining your pills. Once the incense has been completely burned, your opportunity will also come to an end. Humph. Zhang Lin withdrew his gaze as he looked coldly at Mu Ryu, who was refining her pill. Boom! His mental power surged forth and moved to suppress Mu Ryu without any warning. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 334, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 6. Chapter 334, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 6. Mu Ryu felt a pressure coming to her from the side. With a raise of her brows, she discreetly released her own mental power. Suddenly, the pill that was going to be refined in Zhang Lin's pill furnace started to rampage within. His expression changed drastically into one of anxiety. He no longer cared about Mu Ryu as he tried to control his pill. It was a pity, but how could his mental power be compared to Mu Ryu's own monstrous mental power? Pang! The pill furnace before Zhang Lin exploded into smithereen. No! Zhang Lin's eyes were bloodshot as he yelled out with all his might. He was done. He was completely finished. At this moment, Zhang Lin expressed despair. If he failed the exam, with the strictness of the Central Region Academy, he would be expelled. Otherwise, the examinees wouldn't place so much importance on this exam. Song Ran glanced at Zhang Lin and chuckled, saying, "Zhang Lin, do you have a pill furnace?" Zhang Lin bit his lips as he shook his pale face. "Elder Song, she is the..." Zhang Lin pointed at Mu Ruyu and continued with gritted teeth, "She was the one that disrupted my pill refinement, leading to the explosion of my furnace." "Is that so?" Song Ran's brows rose as he continued with a fake smile, "Who saw it?" Zhang Lin shuddered slightly as he closed his eyes with despair. What Song Ran said was right. They had fought secretly, so how could anyone have seen it? He didn't expect that girl to have such tyrannical mental power. He had been terribly tricked by that bitch Zhang Qing. Thinking about the failure in refining the pill, Zhang Lin hated Zhang Qing. "You're dismissed." Song Ran waved his hand and said that impatiently. As time passed, the exam had reached near the end. Yao Yincheng became nervous as she looked unblinkingly at Mu Ruyu. When the last bit of the incense fell, everyone anticipated the outcome. "The exam has ended." Song Ran stood up smilingly as he continued, "Everyone is to bring your pills to me. I will personally judge them." After his words landed, everyone placed their pills before Song Ran in order. Those that passed the exam had elated expression while those that had failed despaired. It was soon Mu Ruyu's turn. When Mu Ruyu handed her pill, the crowd below the stage had a change in their feeling. She will definitely succeed. Yao Yinqing took in a deep breath as she started at Mu Ruyu. A chuckle was heard from her side. "That might not happen." "What did you say?" Yao Yinqing turned her head and looked furiously at Zhang Qing before raising her fist. "Do you believe that this missy will punch you if you say another word?" Zhang Qing's expression changed drastically. She knew that she wasn't a match for Yao Yinqing, so she suppressed her anger. With a fake smile, she tossed out a statement, "We will be able to see if she passes during the following announcement. It is useless just to refine the pill. It must have be 60% filled with the fire element. I believe in little Yue." Yao Yinqing raised her jaw as she looked down at Zhang Qing. A trace of contempt appeared discreetly in Zhang Qing's eyes as she asked, "Why?" "The reason is really simple." Yao Yinqing rolled her eyes at her and continued, "It is because we came from the same homeland of Huaxia." "Huaxia?" Zhang Qing frowned slightly. Was there such a place in the Shang domain? Why hadn't she heard of it? It was probably some rural area. The young mistress of the Shao family was said to have gone missing before. Could it be that rural area's name? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 335, Yi Wuchen's News Part 7. Chapter 335, Yi Wuchen's News Part 7. After Song Ran took the pill and examined it thoroughly, he was suddenly stunned for a moment. He raised his head and looked toward Mu Ruyu with obvious disbelief. "Elder Song, what happened?" Xiaoyu looked curiously at Song Ran and asked. Song Ran took in a deep breath to calm his stirred heart. An Earth Stage high-rank fire pill. It consists of 100% fire elements without any impurities. The effect of the pill will enable fire element martial experts to increase threefolds of their power for an hour. An Earth Stage high-rank fire pill with 100% fire elements. These two pieces of information was like a heavy hammer that struck at the hearts of the crowd. Some people were dumbfounded and looked dazedly at Song Ran's elderly face. Genius. She was definitely a genius. She wasn't the only one to reach the Earth Stage high rank at such a tender age, and there were even a couple of experts in the central region stronger than her. But she was still worthy of respect. If the world were to know that Mu Ruyu started cultivating at the age of 15, and that it had only been 3 years since then and the power she had reached wasn't even at the Earth Stage high rank but instead the Earth Stage peak rank, they would probably faint. How could she be considered just a genius if she could be trained to the Earth Stage peak rank in 3 years from scratch? She was obviously a peerless monster. It is no wonder why she could subdue the Phoenix Furnace. Songran smiled. But there is still a large disparity between this and the innate talent of Senior Yu. Yet, I believe that with her tyrannical mental power, even if she couldn't succeed Senior Yu, she wouldn't be inferior. Xiao Yu looked astonished at Songran. His evaluation of her was too high. An evaluation of an alchemist not being inferior to Senior Yu was the highest assessment in the central region. Even if that little girl was a genius, she was still reaching the age of 20. Even if she started to cultivate at 10, 8 years would have passed. How could an Earth Stage high-rank alchemist at 18 be comparable to the astonishing Senior Yu? She was a legend among alchemists and couldn't be succeeded. An Earth Stage high-rank pill with 100% fire element. Zhang Qingxue sat on the ground with a pale face as she looked at the figure she loathed. She couldn't hear what Yao Yunqing was saying by her side. Zi Qianjing smiled as he walked toward Ru Yue. His languid smile enhanced his captivating appearance. The exam has ended. Let's go. Ru Yue nodded. Of course, she didn't forget to keep her pill. Son. An uproar occurred in the academy as everyone was discussing among themselves. Quick, look. It is Zi Qianjing of the Alchemy Hall. There is probably only one person that could be compared with his handsome appearance. Are you referring to the man known as Yi Wuchen from the Martial Hall? It is indeed so. But Yi Wuchen's purple eyes and the pattern on his face enhanced his charming appearance. Thus, I feel that in comparison with Zi Qianjing, Yi Wuchen is better. I really like both of them. If I could get one of them, that will be great. As that person's word finished, a white robe appeared in front of her. The young girl expressed excitement. The girl gripped onto her collar with happiness in her eyes. What did you just say? Yi Wuchen? Wuchen is in the Central Region Academy? The image of that man's handsome appearance appeared in Ru Yue's mind. Her heart rippled vigorously as she asked hastily, quickly answer my question. Is or isn't Wuchen in the academy? If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 336, Yi Wuchen's News Part 8. Chapter 336, Yi Wuchen's News Part 8. The girl was scared senseless and she only regained her senses after a while. She bit her lips as she looked at the stirred-up young girl with that peerless appearance and said, Yi Wuchen, he is a disciple of the Martial Hall. Now. Swish. A white figure floated past her before she could finish what she wanted to say. The young girl glided through the air and vanished from under the splendid sky. The Martial Hall was filled with clamors as the crowd whispered and discussed. At this time, a gale blew through the hall and the previously noisy Martial Hall instantly quietened. Everyone cast their gazes toward the peerlessly beautiful young girl that appeared in mid-air. The young girl possessed unmatched beauty. Her face looked as though it were carved from jade. Those thin lips beneath a tall nose curved slightly upward as eyes as dark as the night sky expressed excitement. She swept her gaze past the entire hall, but didn't see that man's familiar face. Where is Yi Wuchen? Ru Yue suppressed her surge of feelings as she tried her best to sound normal. Yi Wuchen's name was like a god in the Martial Hall. When the crowd heard those 3 words, countless gazes turned into daggers that shot toward Ru Yue. Who are you to him? A green-clad girl stood up slowly as she looked warily at Ru Yue's peerless appearance with slightly narrowed eyes. This girl's appearance was outstanding. It was a mystery as to how she was related to Yi Wuchen and why she had come here to seek him. My relationship with him doesn't have anything to do with you. With raised brow, Ru Yue continued indifferently, where is Wuchen now? Wuchen. The green-clad girl wariness intensified as she looked at Ru Yue with a gaze like that of someone looking at their nemesis. You call him so cordially. Has he agreed to let you call him that? Apprentice brother Wu Chen is not only powerful, he has a handsome appearance. More importantly, he isn't one that falls for beauty. It is not strange for him to have several pursuers. It is a pity that apprentice brother Wu Chen doesn't judge a person by her appearance. He won't fancy you, so I suggest you never call him in such a manner. Otherwise, apprentice brother Wu Chen will be angered. At that moment, no one will be able to save you. What Qin said is the truth. Younger apprentice sister, don't blame us for not warning you. Yi Wu Chen keeps people at a distance. There was once a girl delusional enough to try and seduce him. In the end, she was tossed away before the crowd, which led to the disfiguration of her face. You have a captivating appearance, but he might not even fancy you. The person that spoke was a girl in green garments. She also looked at Mu Yue as though she was looking at an enemy. Even if it were in Huaxia, some super idols would have crazy fans in love with them, not to mention this foreign land that lacked morals. It would then be strange for a man as outstanding and perfect as Yi Wu Chen to not have pursuers. Mu Yue's gaze darkened as she shot an icy gaze at the two that spoke. Where is Wu Chen? Speak! The young girl emitted a frosty air, her jet black eyes cold and unfeeling. She currently didn't want to listen to anything other than information of the man. The girl known as Qin was frightened, but she pursed her lips, looking at the young girl's impeccable appearance with disdain. The rest just sighed in agony. It seemed that there was another admirer of Yi Wu Chen. When that guy first came to the academy, the entire academy crazed to the point that two girls fought over him. The men in the martial hall sighed in agony as they subconsciously envied Yi Wu Chen's great luck. How could they not be jealous with so many girls admiring him, especially this white-robed girl? She had such an outstanding appearance. If they were in Yi Wu Chen's shoe, they would have definitely kept all of the girls that appeared. It was perfectly normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines anyway. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 337, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 9. Chapter 337, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 9. Elder Apprentice Sister Ru Yue. Suddenly, an elated voice jumped out from Qin Li's mouth. Her gaze shot toward the girl at the entrance with eyes brimming with happiness. Mu Yue followed her gaze and instantly, a girl with a magnificent appearance entered her eyes. The girl dressed simply and wore no makeup. Her ash-gray long robe enveloped her body as her hair splayed down her back like a waterfall. She didn't have a peerless appearance, but her pretty face was still eye-catching. It was as dazzling as sunlight, especially when the girl smiled. She gave off a naturally gentle feeling. If it were a man, they couldn't not be captivated by her. Elder sister apprentice Ru Yue, this girl is here to look for apprentice brother Wu Chen. Qin glared furiously at Mu Yue as she hastily explained what was happening. When Ru Yue's gaze landed on Mu Yue's face, she smiled and said, "Why have you come seeking him for?" "If it is something important, I can pass those words to him." Her speech was as though she were the mistress. "No need. I just want to see him." Mu Yue frowned slightly. It was unknown why she didn't have good feeling for her. "Where is Wu Chen now?" Ru Yue was slightly stunned as she chuckled and replied, "From the Miss's tone, you seem to be familiar with him. Can it be that Miss doesn't know that he is not in the academy?" Her meaning was obvious. "Since you are close to him, how could you not know his whereabouts and instead need to ask me? Where did he go?" Mu Yue's heart sunk. If Wu Chen isn't in the academy, then where has he gone? Ru Yue smiled gently. With a smile as dazzling as sunlight, she replied, "I'm not sure as he left the academy for quite some time already. He should probably be back soon." "Miss, since you are his acquaintance, then you are my Ru Yue's friend. If you are in need of something, you can always come to look for me. I won't slight Miss on behalf of him. If not, it won't be good if he blames me when he returns." She covered her lips and giggled. Radiance like spring filled her eyes. I won't trouble you with that. Ru Yue frowned a little as she glanced at the girl's face apathetically. Since Wu Chen isn't here now, I won't continue disturbing. Ru Yue turned around and left the martial hall after tossing those words. Yan Jin secretly followed her back from the start. A flicker of light flashed in his divinely handsome gaze. He saw that Ru Yue was leaving and hurriedly chased after her. It seems that some guys really know how to provoke flowers. Are you all right? He didn't forget that a few commotions occurred due to him having luck with the ladies in his past life. Why should I not be fine? Ru Yue's brow rose and, with happiness in her eyes, she continued, since the person I am looking for was here, I will stay in the academy to reunite with him. To be honest, Lin Ruoying's words initially made Ru Yue's heart uncomfortable. The tone that girl used was too cordial, as though she was his mistress. Yet, she had experienced so many trials and hardships with Yi Wu Chen. How could she not trust him? No matter what people said, her trust would solely fall on him. Yan Jin smiled faintly. He knew that it would be such a case. The two of them had gone through so many crises together in their past life, and their relationship remained as firm as a boulder. Their feelings in this life would only be deeper and not so shallow. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 338, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 10. Chapter 338, Yi Wu Chen's News Part 10. In the Alchemy Elder's courtyard, Songran sat in the hall as he looked preoccupied outside the room. Anxiousness was slowly expressed on his elderly face as time passed. Suddenly, a white-robed figure entered his eyes as it walked under the sunlight. Song Ran's eyes lit up and he hastily went forth to tug on the young girl's arm and pull her into the hall. Come. 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 Little girl, sit. Quickly sit. Ru Yue was forcefully pressed onto a chair. She then lifted her head to look at the smiling elder as she asked calmly, Elder Song, why have you sought for me? About that, Song Ran rubbed his fist together and chuckled before saying, Little girl, where did you obtain that pill furnace? Pill furnace? That's right, the phoenix furnace in your hand. Ru Yue was stunned and looked astonished at the elder's smiling face. She was greatly shocked. This elder knows about the phoenix furnace? The phoenix furnace is just a pill furnace that wandered into the pill assembly. How, then, would he know about the phoenix furnace? Song Ran had his gaze on Ru Yue from the start. He sighed in lament after seeing her shocked appearance. He originally thought that this young girl must have a relationship with Senior Yu since the phoenix furnace was in her possession. It was clear that she had gotten the divine furnace without knowing the true function of the divine furnace. Little girl, do you know that this phoenix furnace was a possession of Senior Yu? The phoenix furnace is a divine instrument. Song Ran's voice trembled with excitement. A divine instrument. There are just a few of them in this world. It has been rumored that the phoenix furnace was the sole pill furnace that can manufacture divine rank pills, as other ordinary pill furnaces wouldn't be able to withstand the power of a divine rank pill. At that moment, Ru Yue quickly grabbed her storage ring as though she had just met an enemy. It looked as though Song Ran was going to steal her item any time now. Song Ran blinked dazedly as he stared helplessly at the young girl. With slight resentment in his tone, he continued, Little girl, do you think this old man is someone that opens his eyes wide at the sight of profit? If I wanted to steal your item, I wouldn't have waited until now, nor would I have spoken so many words to you. Ru Yue pondered this and agreed. She then released her hand and silently listened to the elder's explanation. The phoenix furnace isn't something anyone can use, so your luck must be great to be able to obtain the recognition of the phoenix furnace. Song Ran shook his head as he watched on with subconscious jealousy. The little girl's luck is too good for such a priceless treasure as the phoenix furnace to be in her possession. Someone gave the phoenix furnace to me. Ru Yue slightly rose her brows. If it wasn't that she attended the pill assembly that year, she wouldn't have obtained the Phoenix Furnace. Song Ran paused for a moment as he forcefully suppressed the fury in his heart. He really wanted to kill this woman with a smack. Someone gave it to her? This is clearly naked boasting. The Phoenix Furnace was used by Senior Yu thousands of years ago. It was due to Senior Yu that people knew of its existence. But the Phoenix Furnace had similarly disappeared after the death of Senior Yu. It is beyond my imagination that I could be so lucky as to personally see it. No one in the world would have any regret in their life if they were able to see a tool previously possessed by a revered expert. Song Ran was slightly emotional. If he were able to see the Heaven Dragon Flame sword in his life as well, then perhaps he might faint with bliss. So it was Senior Yu's item. Ru Yue nodded, enlightened. Now it wasn't a mystery as to how she had gotten the acknowledgement of the Phoenix Furnace. There was such a reason behind it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 339, Subduing a Divine Beast in Half a Year of Closed Door Training Part 1. Chapter 339, Subduing a Divine Beast in Half a Year of Closed Door Training Part 1. That's why I say that you little girl's luck is too good. Song Ran looked with resentment and even jealousy at Ru Yue. If he were to obtain such a divine instrument at a tender age, he might be even more successful in life. He currently had grown old already. It would be the youngling's era in the future of the Central Region. Oh, that's right. You have passed the exam, so according to the previous agreement, you obtain special rights. You don't need to study at the Alchemy Hall, excluding examinations. You can come directly to find me if you face with any problems in alchemy. Petty-minded trash like Emily isn't qualified to tutor a genius as yourself. Song Ran gaze turned sharp. With his ability, he had quickly found out that it was Emily that was behind the explosion of the pill furnace. He was too busy today and thus didn't have the time to settle the debt with that stinky brat. As the hall master of the Alchemy Hall, he must treat every matters fairly. Yet, he used his power to avenge his personal grudges. With that, it was sufficient to toss him out of the Alchemy Hall. If you don't have further matters, I will take my leave. Ru Yue nodded slightly. In comparison to listen to his chatters, she preferred to cultivate. All right. Song Ran reluctantly looked at the Phoenix Furnace before Ru Yue. It was as though he remembered something that he suddenly raised his head and said, "Little girl, I will give you another special authority. You are free to look at all the books in the archive of the Alchemy Hall. There are several alchemy books there. It should be greatly beneficial to you." Ru Yue smiled without replying him. She possessed the Alchemy Book, so how could those ordinary books enter her eyes? But there might be some books that describe Senior Yu and Zihuang's past in the Central Region's archives. I will give it a look now. Ru Yue smiled toward Song Ran in gratitude after receiving the jade tablet. With a wave, she kept the Phoenix Furnace before turning around and left the room. Looking at the young girl's leaving figure, Elder Song sighed as he lamented, "This girl seems to be only 18. It will really be the youngling's era in the future. We have aged and should pass the continent to them." I don't know if I am overthinking, but I have this constant feeling that the stagnant water of the Central Region will be disrupted by her existence. Son. In the archive of the Alchemy Hall, Ru Yue entered without hindrance. Once she entered the room, she felt an indistinct power in it. With a crease of her long, shapely eyebrows, Ru Yue didn't think much about that and started to find the book she wanted. As expected, the archive was filled with only alchemy-related books and not what she wanted. It seems that it will be futile to search for books regarding Senior Yu and Zihuang here. Ru Yue calmly withdrew her gaze before she suddenly seemed to have discovered something as her gaze landed on a book. The book seemed to be charmed, pulling strongly at her heart. Ru Yue didn't hesitate and take the ancient book from the bookshelf. She gently dusted the book before she muttered with a slight raise of the brow, "Is this book related to the history of the Central Region?" Perhaps it was due to curiosity that Ru Yue gradually opened the book. This book just described how the Central Region came about. Its content was boring and extremely ordinary. Just as she wanted to close the book and place it back on the shelf, a ray of light shot out from her chest. Alchemy Book. Ru Yue was stunned. Pang! The Alchemy Book left her body before she could react, with its white pages flipping rapidly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 340, Subduing a Divine Beast in Half a Year of Closed Door Training Part 2. Chapter 340, Subduing a Divine Beast in Half a Year of Closed Door Training Part 2. The entire contents of the Alchemy Book flowed before Ru Yue. They seemed to have been engraved into her memories. It was so vivid that the movements when pill refining seemed enlarged as they were displayed before her. Ru Yue closed her eyes to quietly feel each and every part of that previous scene. Her entire body felt free as she did so. While her alchemy standard didn't make a breakthrough, she could feel it wouldn't be far. Ru Yue opened her eyes abruptly and saw the Alchemy Book emitting light as it metamorphosed into a key. It landed on Ru Yue's hand and the book in her hand showed gradual changes. When the light faded, a bronze-colored ancient book laid in Ru Yue's hand, emitting radiance. A key that was neither small nor large entered her eyes. Ru Yue used the key to unlock the bronze-colored ancient book without hesitation. Swish! A ray of light shot up toward the sky, illuminating the entire archive. Such an abnormal phenomenon alarmed the entire academy. Momentarily, all gazes shot toward the archive. A white-haired elder with an immortal atmosphere suddenly opened his eyes within the dean's manner. He immediately looked toward the archive, astonished. It is the Alchemy Book. The Alchemy Book has been subdued. No, I have to look for the ancestor masters. This is something major. The door at the back of the mountains wouldn't open unless it was necessary. The ancient spirits dwelling within the back mountains seemed to know what had happened as two magical beasts greeted the dean and let him in. Two elders were already silently waiting for his arrival inside a room of the mountain. The elder on the left was red-clad with a smile. He looked cultured and friendly. On the right was an ash-gray robed elder. He was unemotional. The two of them were similar in that they lacked substantial bodies. They were just a group of spirits depending on the spiritual energy of the back mountain. If it wasn't for Lord Baizé establishing the back mountain for the spirits to live and thus enable them to await the return of Senior Yu, they would have already perished from the world. However, they needed to find a suitable body to possess, and not all of them was so lucky to find such a thing. Ancestor Master Hong Yun, Ancestor Master Huiying. The dean bowed slightly. Hong Yun waved his hand before he could give his report and said with a smile, "We know what you came here for. You are to forbid anyone from nearing the archive. If anyone dares to near that place, you must punish them severely." The dean was startled, but didn't ask further. He instead bowed and replied, "Understood, Ancestor Master Hong Yun." Upon saying that, he walked out of the room. After he left, Hong Yun's smile gradually vanished. Huiying, Lord Baizé placed the Alchemy Book here and just said to wait for the destined person to appear. The destined person would have a key to unlock the Alchemy Book. But, he didn't say who that person would be. Huiying raised his head to look out the room and gaze at the sky before replying calmly, "Lord Baizé was the person she trusted the most. Since she left, we must follow Lord Baizé's order." However, Lord Baizé fell for Zifeng's sinister plot when he wanted to save the young master and, thus, he was trapped within 100 Valley. Otherwise, with Lord Baizé's tyrannical strength, he would have been able to end the life of that malevolent woman thousands of years ago to avenge Senior Yu and Zi Huang. But if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 341, Subduing a Divine Beast in Half a Year of Closed Door Training Part 3. Chapter 341, Subduing a Divine Beast in Half a Year of Closed Door Training Part 3. Bai Zai's feelings for Senior Yu had been clear to everyone, excluding Senior Yu, who was rather dense with relationships. At the end, it was due to Zifeng threatening him with Senior Yu's son that led to him risking his life and falling for her trap. Thus, it resulted in him being trapped within the 100 Valleys for thousands of years. Yet, since it had been for her son, Bai Zai didn't regret it. If not, then with Bai Zai's power, how could that woman be able to roam about for so long? Moreover, Bai Zai was someone she was most apprehensive of, excluding Senior Yu and Zi Huang themselves, so she set the trap to restrain him. Hong Yun and Huiying smiled bitterly at each other. Didn't Lord Bai Zai tell us previously that Senior Yu would return and had us wait for her here? I also believe that a woman as peerless and formidable as her won't perish from the world for good. There will be a day when she makes her majestic return. That was right. They had always believed that formidable woman would return to the central region. Sun. White light covered the land. Mu Yue felt slightly uncomfortable as the light shone down upon her. She raised her hand to block the eye-piercing light. She only put down her hand after a while. Where is this place? Mu Yue's brows creased as she muttered the question. Suddenly, a babyish voice was heard. This is the world of the Alchemy Book. Alchemy Book? That's right, the Alchemy Book in your possession wasn't the genuine Alchemy Book. It was just the key to the Alchemy Book. This place is the authentic ancient Alchemy Book. I am the ancient Alchemy Book's guardian protector, Divine Beast, the Heavenly Dragon. Divine Beast? Mu Yue was stunned as she shifted her gaze toward a jade-carved face that appeared through the layers of white light. It was undeniable that this toddler's appearance was like a jade carving. It was incredibly adorable. A candid smile was on that pure white face, and its silver large eyes blinked. Its long eyelashes were as dense and complex as a forest. Its tiny body looked soft like a little bun, causing people to want to hug it tight and kiss it. You are a divine beast? Mu Yue was greatly shocked as no divine beast appeared in the world before. I am indeed a divine beast, the small child giggled adorably as he continued, a divine beast's son. Mu Yue's expression darkened. Can't you say things clearly? The son of a divine beast isn't a divine beast, so you aren't a divine beast? The little child was displeased by what Mu Yue said. With eyes that turned red suddenly, it said with grief, You scolded me. When did I scold you? You just did it just now. The little child's eyes glimmered with sparkling, translucent tears. With grief in its eyes, he said, My parents are divine beasts, so my body contains the bloodline of divine beast. I will definitely become a divine beast in the future. Where are your parents? Mu Yue looked at the jade-carved face of the little child and asked with a raise of her brow. The little child shook its head and said, I don't know. My parents soared through space and left this world. I don't where they traveled to. They returned once and told me of a place with tall buildings and several metal-coated rhinoceros that ran about. There were also metal-skinned birds that flew in the sky. People would even appear in several large boxes. His large eyes blinked gently as the little child reminisced of the past. I want to become a divine beast as soon as possible so I can break through space to look for my parents. Tall buildings? Cars? Planes? Television? Mu Yue thought with shock before she looked astonishingly at the little child and asked, Can it be that your parents went to Huaxia? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 342, Subduing a Divine Beast in Half a Year of Closed Door Training Part 4. Chapter 342, Subduing a Divine Beast in Half a Year of Closed Door Training Part 4. The little child shook his head as he looked curiously at Mu Yue and asked, What kind of place is Huaxia? Ru Yue didn't reply to his question immediately as she was incredibly shocked. Her guess had been right. Once her power reached a standard, she would be able to break through space and head back to Huaxia. She returned to her senses after a while and explained with a light smile, Huaxia is a powerful and mysterious nation. There aren't any martial practitioners there nor magical beasts, but there are cultivators and demons. The alchemy there is the same as here. But there are several differences between Huaxia and here. For example, men on this continent are allowed to have 3 wives and 4 concubines, but it is forbidden in Huaxia. Even if one is a cultivator, they can only have a couple of husbands and wives. In Huaxia, there are also different kinds of weapons. For example, it has bombs that could destroy an entire country. The little child cupped his hands together and kept his head facing forward. It seemed to be a mysterious nation according to what Master said. Xiaobai decided that when he becomes a divine beast in the future, he will head to that nation to find his parents. Ru Yue smiled slightly. Since she had a goal now, her feelings to improve her own strength intensified. Xiaobai, what uses does this alchemy book have? You don't know? Xiaobai blinked his large eyes and smiled candidly. Actually, I'm not too sure either. I just know that you can cultivate in the alchemy book. It will result in half the work and twice the effect when cultivating here compared to outside. Moreover, your energy will never be depleted completely as the alchemy book can supply you with an endless flow of energy. When martial practitioners used their fighting spirit, they would need to use up their energy. Once their energy was completely used up, they would be sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Generally, energy could only be recovered via meditation or pills. If the alchemy book had such a function, she would definitely be at the advantage when fighting. That's right, you are really close to breaking through to the mid-rank Xintian rank. Let me help you. Your current strength is too weak. It is so weak to the point that it is impossible for me to leave this place. I can leave the alchemy book once you become powerful. Xiaobai gently placed his hand between Ru Yue's eyebrows. Hon. A tyrannical power surged toward her mind and gradually dispersed throughout her body. Ru Yue's body shook slightly as she forcefully bore with the pain that came from the power rampaging within her body. All right. Xiaobai slowly withdrew his hand. He then chuckled adorably and said, I can only help you to this extent. Everything else will be up to you on whether or not you can absorb the power. Ru Yue nodded slightly upon hearing his words. She sat cross-legged and started to digest the power that was running wild in her body. Little did she know that her closed-door meditation this time took half a year. In this half a year, the white light didn't fade and continued to flood the archive. Nobody knew what had happened, but the archive had become a forbidden area of the academy. Don't even mention stepping into the archive, nobody was allowed to appear within a 100-meter proximity of it. There was once a disciple that was curious and wanted to take a look. In the end, it resulted in him being expelled for his actions. Hence, nobody dared to near the archive from then on. Yet, there was another matter that made the disciples of the academy puzzled over. The young girl that had gotten special authority from passing the exam at the alchemy hall had disappeared on that very same day. Nobody saw her leaving the academy, so it seemed as though she had disappeared from within the academy. Momentarily, their suspicions moved toward Emily and the people of the Zhang family. If something were to happen to her, they were the prime suspects. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 343, You Must Be Responsible Toward Me Part 1. Chapter 343, You Must Be Responsible Toward Me Part 1. A group of youthful disciples were looking at the two girls fighting within the martial arena of the Central Region Academy. Some people even whistled, their eyes burning with excitement. Take a guess. Will it be Luli of the Alchemy Hall or Yao Yunqing of the Martial Hall winning this fight? If it is a competition in alchemy, Luli would definitely win, but if it is in battling, the outcome won't be as easy to guess. I heard that Yao Yuncheng is really powerful. She is just a new disciple of the academy, but she has already reached the Xiantian realm. Even though there are several young Xiantians in the academy, it is rare for someone her age to reach Xiantian. Everyone was discussing quietly as they stayed to watch the show. The two beauties each had their various talents. If they were to fight, it might form a pleasing sight. Luli, just tell me where Zhang Qing is. Yao Yuncheng looked at Luli, boundless fury dwelling in her clear eyes as she continued, call Zhang Qing out for me. I want to kill her. Luli giggled as she looked at the girl before her with disdain as she said, kill her? Just by yourself? Yao Yunqing, you are just a bumpkin that came from unknown origin. Don't think you are a genius just by entering the academy with your innate talent. In the eyes of us nobles, you are nothing. Don't even mention Ru Yue's disappearance, as it doesn't have anything to do with Zhang Qing. Even if it did, so what? It can't be that you would charge into the Zhang family to kill her, right? You'll most probably be killed by her brother, who is overprotective of her, before you can even touch her. Yao Yuncheng's clear eyes were filled with anger and anxiousness. She already disappeared for half a year. The heavens knew that she had searched each and every inch of the academy for her, including the exterior area of the academy. But there still wasn't a single trace of Ru Yue. The only possibility left was that she faced danger. Furthermore, the only one that could cause trouble for her was people like Zhang Qing. That woman escaped previously. Once she met her again, she would definitely avenge Ru Yue. Luli, don't you think I won't know what you are actually thinking? I guess that you all want little Yue dead. Initially, when she just entered the alchemy hall, all of you bullied her and forced her to participate in the exam. In the end, she passed the exam and every one of you aren't satisfied. No matter what, Yue's refining pill standard is superior to all of you. It is useless even if you aren't satisfied. Every one of you can only live in the shadow of her light for all eternity inside the alchemy hall. That young girl was so peerless and captivating. It would be impossible for her not to attract jealousy, especially Luli, who had bullied her by partnering up with Zhang Qing. You bitch. Luli's expression changed as a trace of fury sparked to life in her beautiful eyes. She exclaimed, you said I am jealous of her? What is so good about her that is worthy of jealousy? She just depended on her little innate talent to do whatever she likes. It's not like there aren't any other youths that had broken through to the Earth stage high rank at her age in the academy. So, why should I be jealous of her? That's right, Luli was indeed jealous of Ru Yue, but it was impossible for her to say it upright. Swish! Yao Yunqing raised her long sword that emitted an earth-yellow blow. Boom! The ground momentarily quaked. Numerous rocks on the ground moved and shot mercilessly toward Luli. Luli's expression turned grim. With a wave of her red sword, flames instantly shot forth, forming into numerous swords that greeted the oncoming rocks. Pang! 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 The rocks that had been pierced by the fire swords turned into dust. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 344, You Must Be Responsible Toward Me Part 2. Chapter 344, You Must Be Responsible Toward Me Part 2. When Yao Yuncheng and Luli were battling fiercely, Ru Yue was sitting on a mountain in the Alchemy Book that was radiating with white light. A breeze grazed her face and a fragrance passed her nose. Ru Yue's body suddenly jolted. Boom! A tremendous power surged forth from her body, directly shattering a nearby rock that was in front of her into smithereens. Mid-rank Xiantian. She finally broke through to the mid-rank Xiantian realm after half a year of close-door training. Ru Yue opened her eyes abruptly as she suddenly smelt a burnt scent from her side. When she turned her head over, she saw that Xiaobai seemed to be roasting something. Xiaobai, what are you doing? Roasting. Do you want to try? Xiaobai raised his head and looked toward Mu Yue, expressing an adorable smile. Mu Yue frowned and queried, what I am asking was what are you roasting? Medicinal plants. Medicinal plants? She was stunned for a moment before she asked, where did you get them from? Xiaobai pointed to the storage ring on Mu Yue's finger. From there. Mu Yue hastily inserted her mental power into the storage ring. She then found that all of the medicinal plants in her ring had vanished, leaving only pitiful few bottles of pills floating solitary. She took in a deep breath and asked with gritted teeth, Xiaobai, do you know what you had just done? Xiaobai blinked his eyes innocently, clueless as to why his master was so furious. Mu Yue raised her hand and lifted Xiaobai's tiny body before viciously smacking his buttock. Wah! Xiaobai wailed out with glistening tears in his large eyes. Xiaobai, those are rare medicinal plants. It is all right if you ate them, but you wasted them. How can medicinal plants be used to roast? More importantly, some of those medicinal plants were prepared for Yan Jin. Now, his location was still unknown. Xiaobai knows he is in the wrong. Xiaobai looked at Mu Yue, sobbing. Grief was expressed on his jade carving-like face. His expression was that of a little puppy being abandoned by its owner. He continued pitifully, Master, Xiaobai knows that he has done wrong. Can you please stop being mad at me? Mu Yue's heart softened as she apologized, I'm sorry, Xiaobai. I was too stirred up previously. It is just that 2 of those medicinal plants were for my really important friend. Yet, they were ruined by you. Are you still in pain? Her slender finger caressed the red mark on Xiaobai's buttock as she asked with slight guilt. Xiaobai shook his head vigorously before he curled his tiny body into Mu Yue's embrace. After taking in a deep breath, he said, Master, your body scent is really nice. But Master, only Xiaobai's mother can beat Xiaobai's buttock. Nobody beat Xiaobai ever since mother and father broke space to travel to other places. Since you beat Xiaobai's buttock, you must be responsible to Xiaobai. Hence, you are Xiaobai's mother from now on. Mu Yue's body stiffened momentarily. Xiaobai, you are a magical beast while I am human. Xiaobai lifted his star-like eyes and asked with grief, Master, do you dislike Xiaobai? Father and mother have disliked Xiaobai, so they abandoned him and traveled elsewhere. Do you also dislike Xiaobai? It was obscure to Mu Yue why she couldn't rebuke any further after hearing what he said. Suddenly, she remembered the moment where she first met Yi Wuchen. That fella similarly used such a pitiful expression to guilt-trip her to lead her by the nose. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 345, You Must Be Responsible Toward Me Part 3. Chapter 345, You Must Be Responsible Toward Me Part 3. Alright, I will be your mother then. You can just be another loving son of Wu Chen and I. Really? Xiaobai leaped jubilantly. He hooked his arm around Mu Yue's neck as he planted a kiss on her face. Xiaobai has a doting mother now. Let those 2 wander freely as Xiaobai doesn't need them anymore. He just needs you as his mother. It was obvious that the little fellow was displeased about being left behind by his parents. Xiaobai, you really cannot leave this place with me? Mu Yue lowered her head to look at Xiaobai's jade carving-like face as she asked gently. Xiaobai bit his lips and shook his head before he said in grief, I can't. I will never be able to leave this place unless you break through to the Xiantian full circle realm. This book is something that my parents were protecting. Yet, since they left this place after breaking through, the heavy duty falls onto me. Xiantian full circle realm? Mu Yue smiled and consoled, Xiaobai, don't worry. I will get you out of this place as soon as possible. Now, I will leave this place first. I also don't know how long has passed nor how is the outside world. King Er and Jing Er will most probably be looking high and low for me. It is a pity that this happened all of a sudden that I can't tell them beforehand. Xiao Bai's heart shuddered. He subconsciously tugged at Ru Yue's sleeve as he looked at her pitifully and asked, "You are leaving? When will you come back here to accompany Xiao Bai?" Ru Yue's heart stung slightly as she looked at Xiao Bai's hopeful face. He is just a kid, but had to spend so many years by himself in here. How lonely would it have been? Someone finally appeared after waiting bitterly. Who will know how excited and stirred up he was? "Xiao Bai, I will accompany you frequently, but I have some important matters that I have to deal with now." Ru Yue smiled and caressed Xiao Bai's head as she said that softly. An adorable smile graced Xiao Bai's jade carved-like face. He nodded with all his might and said, "Then Xiao Bai will wait here for you. He will keep on waiting for you here." He would wait here forever until that girl came to accompany him. Even if she didn't, he would keep waiting for her. Mickey tears gathered in Mickey's eyes. This statement reminded me of some of the monsters, yokai, in the anime Natsume Book of Friends, Natsume Yujinchu. In the martial arena, Luli retreated rapidly as she raised her head to look at the girl with a delicate and pretty appearance. A trace of viciousness flashed past her eyes. "Yao Yunqing!" Luli instantly leaped up and charged toward Yao Yunqing. At this moment, killing intent surged out from her body as she yelled in fury, "Go and die!" Boom. Her body's aura was like a great sword that pierces the heaven as it struck toward Yao Yunqing. Yao Yunqing narrowed her eyes with a faint smile. She waved the long sword in her hand. At that instant, a sharp sword light appeared and directly went to greet that great sword. A large explosion was heard and the flame greatsword shattered into countless light rays as they fell from the sky. Pop! Luli retreated 2 steps back as she looked astonished at Yao Yunqing, who was brimming with smiles. "Luli, didn't you want to kill me? Come on then. You can kill me if you have the capability. I can't fucking stand you for ages already. Aren't you just a girl in a powerful family? What is so great about that? In my homeland language, you are called a parasite in the family clan that neglects her duties nor wants to make an improvement. Didn't you say that it is best that Yue had died, otherwise you will definitely make her live a life worse than death yesterday? Luli, let me see your capability then. If you can't even defeat me, you still want to kill her? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 346, They All Bullied Me Part 1. Chapter 346, They All Bullied Me Part 1. Yao Yunqing chuckled with mockery in her clear eyes. She neared Luli step after step. With intensifying killing intent in her eyes, she exclaimed, "Tell me, where on earth did Zhang Qing head hidden to?" Luli bit her lips before she shouted suddenly, "Lord Emoli, please save me." At that moment, an ash-gray robe flashed past. A mid-aged man appeared on the martial arena. He looked coldly at the delicate and pretty face of the girl and snorted lightly. Instantly, a powerful pressure came upon Yao Qingyun. Her legs gave way and she fell onto the ground. She then looked furiously at Emoli and rebuked, "My competition with Luli hadn't finished yet. But you, as the in charge of the martial arena, came to interfere our fight. Can you be even more shameless?" Emoli gaze darkened. "In charge of the martial arena, . Those words were like a sharp thorn that stabbed his heart. He clearly had tweaked with the pill furnace in such a discreet fashion. But who knew that old man Songran still found that out? Worse still, he had chased him out of the alchemy hall. If it wasn't for the martial hall to retain him by making him in charge of the arena, he would most probably be kicked out of the academy. No matter what, the alchemy hall couldn't interfere with the martial hall matters. But the martial hall didn't want to offend the alchemy hall, so they didn't dare to give him an important role and just let him be the in charge of this place. Hence, it was a humiliation to him. The winner and loser had already been determined, so the competition ends. Emoli coldly lifted his gaze and continued in a cold tone, "Do you still have any dissatisfaction?" Looking at this scene, the crowd looked at each other with disdain in their heart. Emoli was clearly misusing his powers to avenge his personal matters. Who called that friend of Yao Yunqing to offend him? He would naturally hate her as well. Yao Yunqing's face darkened and she asked, "Emoli, have you forgotten the two sole rules of the martial arena? The first is that the referee can only stop the fight when one side loses fighting power. The other is when the other side concedes, the competition ends. That woman hasn't conceded, nor is she severely injured that renders her to lose all fighting powers. I wonder how you judge that the competition has ended. How is this fair? Little girl, you are too naive." Emoli chuckled coldly. There isn't fair or unfair in this world. The one with the stronger fist is the winner. Your friend has entered Song Ransai so he might protect you in the alchemy hall, but within the martial hall, you don't have any backings. Thus, whatever I, Emoli, say is what it is. It is best that you leave now. If you adamantly continue to resist against my judgment, I can only be impolite to you. The one with the stronger fist is the winner. Yao Yunqing's expression chilled. She had already understood that logic long ago, as this continent wasn't the nation Huaxia after all. There wasn't any logic in this world. A trace of light flashed in Lu Li's eyes when the other seemed to be zoning out. She suddenly stood up and dashed toward Yao Yunqing from behind Emoli. The crowd took in a breath. Lu Li was really sacrificing her life as she dared to attack Yao Yunqing now. If it wasn't for the protection by Emoli, she would already been beaten up to a pulp by Yao Yunqing. Yet, Lu Li had only a thought now. Kill her. I must kill this damnable bitch. When Lu Li's sword was reaching Yao Yunqing's side, the other seemed to have suddenly came back to her senses. Yao Yunqing just raised her palm and struck Lu Li's chest mercilessly. Lu Li's eyes enlarged gradually as her body formed an arc in the air before landing heavily on the ground. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 347, They All Bullied Me Part 2. Chapter 347, They All Bullied Me Part 2. You are seeking your own death. Yao Yunqing smiled as she walked toward Lu Li. She raised her sword slightly with a trace of killing intent in her eyes. Stop. Emoli's expression changed drastically when he saw Yao Yunqing pierced her sword toward Lu Li. He dashed over in a flash. With his entire body's aura surging out, he struck it toward Yunqing's chest. Yao Yunqing's body was sent flying backward. She spurted a mouthful of blood in mid-air that descended from the sky like rain that covered the entire sky. Lord Meili still made his move after all. The crowd below the arena stage sighed with pity. According to ability, Yao Yunqing was stronger than Lu Li. Yet, Lu Li's family power was stronger. Hence, even if it wasn't for Mu Ruyu's implication, Emoli would still have sided Lu Li's side to curry up favor with the Lu family. Little girl, I had already said that the competition has ended. But you didn't listen. Since that's the case, I can only teach you a lesson to boost your memory. Emoli's eyes slightly darkened with killing intents in his eyes. He had already investigated Yao Yunqing's background. She came from just a small village outside of the central region. Thus, he could kill her without anyone coming to avenge her as someone without any backing. However, this place was an academy, so as the in-charge, he couldn't just kill any disciple as he liked. Little girl, remember to leave a line in everything you do so as to uphold harmony. I hope that you won't continue to do things to the extreme. Even if Lu Li was in the wrong, you should have given her a chance. Give her a chance? Yao Yunqing laughed. She wanted to kill me at first, so I counterattacked. But under your intervention, I couldn't teach her a lesson. She had tried to kill me for the second time already. You are still saying that I should give her another chance? Emily, how thick can your face be? You're seeking death. A gale was released from Emily's body. Hon. With flames of fury in his eyes, a tempest like a sandstorm pressured over toward Yao Yunqing. Under the pressure, Yao Yunqing's complexion paled and she bit her lip. When the crowd saw the tyrannical power came forth, they all shook their head inside. The proverb had once said that knowing how to read the situation was a genius. Yet, Yao Yunqing was such a fool. She had initially messed up the academy to find that woman to the point that Zhang Qingshui was too terrified to go to the alchemy hall. The people of the Zhang family had come to the academy, but was blocked by Song Ran. Today, she met with a tough nail, but she still didn't know how to lower her attitude. Wasn't she asking for a beating? A loud explosion was heard that shook the entire martial arena. Everyone lifted their head and saw that Yao Yunqing had disappeared from the martial arena. Following that, as their sight raised higher, a snow-white figure standing in mid-air entered the crowd's eyes. Coldness filled that young girl's eyes. Her impeccable appearance was so frosty that it made people terrified. Her hand held tightly on Yao Yunqing's back collar as she stood quietly in the air. Yao Yunqing looked startled at the young girl beside her. When she felt the grievance she felt that had accumulated over these days exploded forth, she burst out crying. She said with sobs, you are still alive. You really are. I thought that the person from the same homeland as me that I had searched with such difficulty had abandoned me in this foreign world. When you weren't here, they all bullied me. Zhang Qingshui bullied me and hid from me. Luli bullied me as well. She dared to vilify you in front of me. Furthermore, Emily bullied me the most. He didn't allow me to teach Luli a lesson. Everyone rolled their eyes after hearing what she said. They all bullied her? It seemed that she was the one that was bullying others during this period of time, instead that Zhang Qingshui was too terrified to come to the academy. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 348, Yan Jin's Domineering Return Part 1. Chapter 348, Yan Jin's Domineering Return Part 1. Mu Yue's frosty gaze glanced through the crowd before landing on Emily. Her killing intent surged forth at that instant. She gradually descended from the sky as she looked past Emily to look coldly at Luli that was being protected by Emily. Ting Er, how did she bully you just now? Yao Yunqing pulled a face at Luli before looking with grief at Mu Yue. She said pitifully, she had tried to kill me twice previously and failed to do so. She then sought for Emily as the person in charge as a helper. However, Yao Yunqing paused for a while before continuing. Even if Emily is a little trashy, he is still a high-rank Xintian expert. We should wait before settling the debt with Luli. I don't believe that Emily will be by her side all the time. Luli's expression changed as she glared furiously at Yao Yunqing. Ting Er, how do you like to deal with her? Mu Yue shifted her gaze toward Luli, undisguised killing intent was shown in her eyes. She had wanted to kill me. If it wasn't for my ability better than her, I would have died. With the phrase of a tooth for a tooth, I should kill her. But I'm usually kind-hearted and don't like the sight of blood. Yao Yunqing shook her head and her expression was just like someone that didn't bear to kill a person before she continued, so, it will suffice to just cripple her powers. Luli, didn't you look down on us with the power of your family? You had also said that you will make the Lu family deal with us. If you are a trash, I wonder if the Lu family will still want you. There were times where death wasn't the most painful event. In this continent that revered expert, if one became a trash, she would live her life in agony. Yao Yunqing smiled with elation in her eyes. This was the outcome in trying to kill her. What are you doing? Feeling the aura that was bursting forth from the young girl, Emily's expression changed greatly. He dashed forth in a flash. A gale shot forth from his body. Mother! Yan Jin was rushing over from nearby. When he suddenly saw Ru charging toward Ru Yue, killing intent appeared in his beautiful eyes. Overflowing flames of fury exploded from his body. Anyone that was delusional and trying to hurt mother dies. Yet, when he wanted to make his move, a black figure soared over in the sky. It was obvious to the eye in broad daylight. Following that, a domineering yell-out was heard. "Human, you are too gutsy to try to hurt this senior's master. Die!" Pang! A black ray of light flashed and landed on Mu's chest. Mu still didn't know what happened when his body soared through the sky and landed heavily on the ground. A man was standing in mid-air with his black robe fluttering. A cold expression was displayed on his carved-like face. With increasing killing intent in his abyss-like eyes, he stared coldly at Mu, who was on the ground. When the crowd saw this monarch-like man, astonishment filled their eyes. If the charming and handsome Wu Chen was an Azura from hell with a tyrannical aura, this man was the emperor of the world with his domineering aura filling the heavens, showing the attitude of a monarch. Pop! A flame cast by Ru Yue entered Luli's body, sending her body to fly backwards. Her face paled and spurted a mouthful of blood. Disbelief filled her eyes. Mu was defeated by that man in an instant. Who was he? He was so strong. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 349, Yan Jin's Domineering Return Part 2. Chapter 349, Yan Jin's Domineering Return Part 2. Yan Jin, you're back? Ru Yue retracted her gaze and looked at the man in mid-air. The man lowered his deep black eyes. When his sight landed on the young girl's face, he moved in a flash toward her. "Little girl, I had said that I would return after an increase of my power. Moreover, how do you want to deal with this person?" "How do I want to deal with him?" To be honest, Ru Yue hadn't thought about that yet. What is going on here? Why is it so rowdy? Suddenly, an elderly figure entered from the side. It seems that the one making a commotion isn't a human, but a magical beast? Magical beast? The crowd was a little shocked as they lifted their gazes toward the handsome and cold face of that man. This strong man was a magical beast? It was no wonder why he was so strong just now. Yan Jin snorted coldly as he looked toward the approaching person. Similarly, Ru Yue also looked at him. The elder's white robe fluttered as he walked over. He had a cold smile on his elderly face and coldness in his eyes. There was also a beautiful girl walking by his side. When Ru Yue glanced at her, she recognized that she was Lin Ruoying, who was the one she met when she tried to look for Yi Wu Chen at the martial hall. Why did they appear here? Ru Yue narrowed her gaze slightly as she stared at those two. Yan Jin placed some pressure on his toes before leaping to stand before Ru Yue, tossing a cold gaze at Lin Ruoying. There wasn't any son that would have good feelings for a girl that was trying to destroy his family. This girl had previously used a tone as though she was the wife of his father, completely acting like a mistress of the family. It was unknown why she came here today. Yan Jin and Yan Jin stood separately by Ru Yue's sides as they stared warily at those two. If they were to make any move, they would instantly deal with them. Are you a disciple of the Alchemy Hall? The elder had a cold smile as he continued, you as the disciple of the Alchemy Hall is really mighty. Not only did you come to make a mess of my martial hall, you also injured my martial arena in charge. Who gave you the guts to do so? As he said that, he looked at Mu, who was lying on the ground inside helplessly. That hit would cripple him if it didn't kill him. Mu wouldn't have any uses from now on. He was the first to break the rules and made his move. Yue was just protecting herself. Yao Yunqing's expression changed. She had first beat Lu Li and then beat Mu. Now this old man came out. Was everyone at the martial hall so shameless? At this moment, Yao Junqing actually forgot that she was also from the martial hall. You are a new talented disciple of the martial hall? The elder narrowed his eyes and said coldly, don't forget that you are a person of the martial hall. Yao Yunqing snorted and rebuked, so what? He. Little girl, you have a backbone and it suits this elder's taste. I agree that Mo Li was in the wrong. But even if he had done wrong, you should have let me handle it and not cripple him. The elder chuckled coldly before shifting his sight to Yan Jin. It is indeed rare to see a magical beast that can humanize. It can't be that you won't give an explanation for what you had done wrong, right? Explanation? Yan Jin smiled coldly. What should I explain? That bastard tried to hurt this senior's master. This senior accidentally used too much force and didn't know he was so weak. Hence, it ended up like this. All in all, it is him being too weak. What has it have to do with this senior? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 350, The Dean's Astonishment Part 1. Chapter 350, The Dean's Astonishment Part 1. That's right, Mo Li's ability was too weak. He just accidentally used too much force that it crippled him. It didn't have anything to do with him. Accidentally crippled him? The crowd glanced at Mo Li, who was in a sorry state. Could such injuries be accidental? What was more frightening was that this magical beast called Ru Yue his master. Nobody wouldn't know what being a master represented. Master. Lin Ruoying looked at Ru Yue before shifting her gaze to the elder and continued, Master, I think that Lady Ru Yue didn't do it on purpose. I don't know if Master can forgive them on my behalf? Ruoying, you're asking for forgiveness? The elder frowned as his gaze landed on Lin Ruoying and asked indifferently. Lin Ruoying nodded slightly as she explained, this lady seems to be acquainted with Yi Wuchen, although I don't know if it is the truth. I still want to seek forgiveness for them even then. What if she really knows him? It won't be good that Wu Chen became enraged when he returns. Since she was someone he knows, I should take good care of her. Yi Wu Chen. The elder's expression softened after hearing that name. He had been in this academy for so long, but hadn't seen such an outstanding disciple. Perhaps only a girl like Lin Ruoying would be compatible with such a person. The elder turned his head to glance at Lin Ruoying before nodding in satisfaction. No matter if it is her personality or talent, Ruoying is extremely outstanding. Even though Yi Wuchen refused to be my disciple, it will still be a happy event for him to wed with my disciple. They are really compatible. They may even become a divine couple that is only inferior to Senior Yu and Zi Huan's legend. Yi Wuchen? When Yan Jin caught that name, his expression darkened slightly. He then shot a sharp gaze at Lin Ruoying and questioned her, who are you to Yi Wuchen? That woman's last question made him unhappy. What does she mean by taking good care of the little girl for Yi Wuchen? It is as though that the little girl is a burden while she is a wife that undertook some responsibilities for her husband. Lin Ruoying's good-looking face blushed as she replied with a light smile, I'm Wu Chen's friend. Friend? Yan Jin chuckled coldly as he continued, I doubt you are treating him as a friend. However, what I really want to know is that did you self-proclaimed yourself as his friend? How can a man like Yi Wuchen befriend a girl that has ulterior motive? He definitely won't do anything that will hurt the little girl's heart. Impudent! The elder's expression changed. Just as he was about to erupt with fury, Lin Ruoying that was by his side calmed him down. She shook her head and smiled lightly before she said, Master, didn't you promise that you won't bother them? Let's just forget about it. It's just plain talking. I, Lin Ruoying, haven't reached the point to care about every words by outsiders. The elder still doted his disciple as he suppressed his surging anger. Alright, I, Fu Li, won't bother with you all on Ruoying's behalf. But I will have a good talk with Song Ran as to why he allowed people from his department to come here and make a ruckus. He shook his sleeves before commanding in a cold tone, Ruoying, let's go. Yes, master. Lin Ruoying bowed slightly before smiling toward Mu Ruyu and advised, Lady, since you are Wu Chen's friend, I will naturally help you out. Otherwise, he might be unhappy when he returns. But you shouldn't be so impetuous next time. Some matters don't need you to show off your abilities and will pass if you just bear with it. You mustn't hurt others. She turned to leave after saying that. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 351, The Dean's Astonishment Part 2. Chapter 351, The Dean's Astonishment Part 2. Elder apprentice Sister Ruoying is really gentle. That's right. She is a role model for the girls in the academy. Someone had humiliated her previously, but she still helped them without bearing grudges. If those people still don't accept her good intents, they are worse than pigs and dogs. I guess that only Elder Apprentice Sister Ruoying can match up with that person. Who are you referring to by that person? Stupid. Who else other than Yi Wu Chen from the Martial Hall? Chen Jing clenched his fists with boundless fury in his eyes. He suddenly chuckled coldly with a sinister cold smile on his handsome face. Lin Ruoying, you're such a hypocrite. I also don't know where that fellow had ran to. If he doesn't return soon, I will snatch his wife away. If it isn't for Mother to stop me, I will have already punched that bitch's face. But why did you stop me? Yan Jin said with irritation, Little girl, that girl clearly didn't have good intents by helping you. She seems to be helping you, but she was hinting her relationship with Yi Wu Chen. She was warning you that Yi Wu Chen isn't yours. If this isn't provocation, then what is it? You can endure it, but this senior can't. Mu Ruyu rolled her eyes at him. Did Lin Ruoying do something? Yan Jin paused before he said with rage, I just dislike her. Yan Jin, will deal with her once Wu Chen returns. But it is unknown when that fellow will return. He had nearly killed you by the flower that he had provoked previously. Now, he has provoked more girls. Does he have an end? Once he returns, I must disfigure him to stop attracting trouble to you, but we will discuss about this only when you can defeat him. Mu Ruyu shrugged her shoulders and said with smile, I have a feeling that Yi Wu Chen isn't far from me and that we will reunite soon. Yan Jin snorted coldly, I've made a qualitative improvement in my strength already. I might be able to defeat him now. That will not happen. Mu Ruyu chuckled, disapproving his stand. Yan Jin's breath tightened. This was clearly naked despise. But he couldn't rebuke her as that man's rate of improvement was really rapid. Yue, can I ask you who is Yi Wu Chen to you? Yao Yuncheng blinked her eyes as she looked curiously at Mu Ruyu as she asked. Mu Ruyu smiled with a peculiar ray of light in her eyes and replied, My husband. Husband? Your husband? Yao Yuncheng was stunned for a moment before she giggled and said, Yue, don't you think that the previous scene was hilarious? Once I heard that Yi Wu Chen is your husband, I suddenly thought about the third person in the relationship provoking the main wife. Lin Ruoying obviously wants to be the third person in your relationship. She should just say that. Why must she be so hypocritical? I can't stand people like her. If she didn't use such a mistress tone, perhaps she wouldn't be so irritating. Lin Ruoying is already much better than the girls I had seen like Xiao Min and Nangong Zifeng. Mu Ruyu sighed with helplessness when she thought about the girls that crazed for Yi Wu Chen. Chen Jing remained silent from the start. His silence was slightly terrifying. He understood how terrifying a woman's jealousy could be from personally experiencing it. Zifeng didn't mind massacring the entire Z family for father and even led to the fall of his parents. His limbs were also amputated. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 352, The Dean's Astonishment Part 3. Chapter 352, The Dean's Astonishment Part 3. He definitely wouldn't let that tragedy happen again, even if he had to bathe the world in blood. At this moment, a man stood on the summit of a mountain thousands of miles from the Central Region Academy, his purple robe fluttering in the wind. A demonic red lily spider pattern covered half of his face. Yet, it didn't seem strange but instead merged perfectly with his aura and enhanced his charming, noble appearance instead. Countless red spider lilies seemed to bloom in his surroundings. He looked astonishing. His beauty could make people captivated by him indefinitely. Clouds were moving in his surroundings. A ray of light flashed past his purple eyes. It has been half a year, but I still hadn't found Mu Er's location. I don't know where she is. Now, it is about time, so I must head back to the academy. He pursed his lips as the image of that girl's impeccable appearance entered his mind. Mu Er, where are you? I will find you even if I have to search every inch of this world. Little girl, you're finally out. When Songran felt the aura in the archive disappear, he hastily ran over. When he saw the approaching Ru Yue, he was elated and quickly went to greet her. Right, the dean requested for your audience. The dean? Ru Yue was startled as she asked, why is he looking for me? I'm not sure. It probably had something to do with what happened in the archive. Little girl, you only went to the archive and made such a commotion. Let's go to meet Lord Dean. Actually, the dean is a really nice person, so you won't need to worry too much about meeting him. When Songran glanced at Ru Yue, he seemed to discover her unease and couldn't help but try to calm her a bit. That's right, the one with the highest authority in the Central Region Academy is the dean. Moreover, he loves when people flatter him. You just have to say nice words to him. Once he is happy, you can do whatever you want in this Central Region Academy. Ru Yue didn't listen to what Songran continued to say, but just placed her hand on her storage ring. No matter what, the Alchemy Book was a possession of the Central Region Academy. It couldn't be that the old man wanted it back, right? At this instant, she thought about Xiao Bai, who had been isolated for thousands of years. Her heart sunk slightly. Nobody would be able to snatch the Alchemy Book from her no matter what. The dean was carefully carrying a withering plant in the dean's manor. With heartache in his eyes, he lamented, I don't know why my most beloved silver leaf has withered. This is a medicinal plant that requires thousands of years to grow. It is a pity. It is such a pity. 1,000 years was a really long time even to cultivators. Moreover, 1,000-year medicinal plant was already a priceless treasure. How could his heart not ache? Lord Dean, little girl Ru Yue has come. At this time, a voice was heard from outside the door. The dean gently placed his beloved medicinal plant down and sighed in pity. He then turned his head and replied, come in. Understood, Lord Dean. An old man brought in a young girl in white robe after saying those words. The young girl was incredibly pretty. Her appearance seemed to have been molded into being. She had a tall nose and a cold expression. Her eyes were as deep and dark as the night, similar to an abyss. Oh, you have come? The dean sized up the young girl that was at the entrance from her head to her feet without missing any part of her appearance. She is the owner of the Alchemy Book? I wonder how her innate talent is. Teaser. He definitely wouldn't let that tragedy happen again even if he had to bloodbath the world. At this moment, a man was standing on a summit of a mountain thousands of miles from the Central Region Academy with his purple robe fluttering. A demonic red lily spider pattern covered half of his face. Yet, it didn't seem strange as it merged perfectly with his aura and enhanced his charming and noble appearance instead. Countless red spider lilies seemed to bloom in his surrounding. He looked astonishing. His beauty would make people captivated by him indefinitely. Mickey pondered. Can I try to get him now by showing Ru Yue's corpse? Mickey has made quite a convincing Ru Yue's lifelike doll. A blatant lie from Mickey, with a little magic, it will look realistic. But what if Wu Qin tries to take his life as he couldn't take the blow of Ru Yue's death? This is like trying to decide which favorite ice creams to choose when I can only pick one. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 353, The Dean's Astonishment Part 4. Chapter 353, The Dean's Astonishment Part 4. Just when Song Ran wanted to officially introduce Ru Yue to the Dean, the next moment stunned him. You are the Dean of the Central Region Academy? Ru Yue forcibly smiled and flattered. I've long heard about your name. I had heard of your name even from a distant place like the Sheng domain. With but a glance, you appear so awe-inspiring that it would be hard for anyone to mislook you. The Dean's gloomy expression went through drastic changes. He went from looking as though he were attending a funeral to immediately smiling after hearing her words. He stroked his snow-white beard with enjoyment as he chuckled and asked, Little girl, is this Dean that well known? Ru Yue blinked her eyes before continuing, Of course. You are far superior than the rest. I have worshipped you since long ago. I came to the Central Region Academy just to have a glimpse of your graceful bearing. Song Ran was completely stupefied. He previously said those words casually, but who knew this little girl took it so seriously? With her ice-cold personality, how could she say such disgusting words? Not to even mention the name of the Dean, the little girl probably didn't know about the existence of the Central Region Academy before coming to the Central Region. She was speaking blindly with her eyes wide open. Ru Yue suppressed her churning stomach. If it wasn't for the Alchemy Book and Xiaobai, how could she say such words that disgusted her? Ha ha ha. The Dean laughed heartily before he complimented her, Little girl, not bad, you really are a good girl. This old man really likes your words. That's right, I had looked for you regarding the Alchemy Book. Dean, why is your plant withering? Ru Yue interrupted the Dean before he could finish his piece. Her question seemed to poke at the Dean's sore spot as he said with teary eyes, That is my most beloved silver leaf. I don't know why, but I found that it had withered this morning. Sigh. Forget it, let's not talk about that. Little girl, let's talk about the Alchemy Book instead. It was a pity that once he said the Alchemy Book, her next statement made him swallow his words. Dean, perhaps I can try to revive it? Glimmers danced in Ru Yue's eyes as she said that with a smile. At that instant, the Dean was stunned as he glared unbelievingly at Ru Yue. What did you just say? You said you could revive Silver Leaf? Did I hear it wrongly? At this time, the order by the Ancestor Masters was thrown to the back of his mind. All he was thinking about now was to revive his beloved Silver Leaf. But you must agree to a request. Ru Yue smiled at the Dean as she said that. The Dean became stirred up and nodded vigorously and replied, Don't say one. Even if it is 100, I would agree to them. Quickly help me revive Silver Leaf. This is a 1,000-year medicinal plant. It is also my precious. I can't fall asleep if I can't look at it every day. I just don't know why it has withered. Ru Yue didn't say anything and just walked up to the silver leaf. She placed a palm on the withering leaf and released some energy. At that instant it converted into a light that enveloped the entire medicinal plant. The Dean became anxious as he stared unblinkingly at the medicinal plant in Ru Yue's hand. He said with hesitation, Little girl, are you sure you can do it? Ru Yue didn't reply as her eyes were calm and without any ripples. A green ray of light was being emitted from her palm. Under the green light, the withering leaves gave off a fluorescent glow. Following that, the Dean widened his eyes in shock as he looked at the scene that he would never be able to forget in his entire life. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 354, The Dean's Astonishment Part 5. Chapter 354, The Dean's Astonishment Part 5. The yellowed leaves radiated with boundless vitality. Under his astonished gaze, the stem of the leaf rose. The two elders were dumbfounded as they saw this peculiar sight. They didn't know how it had happened. Using energy to grow medicine? Can this be the legendary method of growing medicine with energy? Songran stared in shock at the silver leaf that was being enveloped with green light. His expression was as though he saw a ghost. His sight slowly shifted toward Ru Yue and exclaimed, "Monster, this fella is a monster. Otherwise, how can she be so abnormal?" Songran was hit with such a strong blow. When meeting with such a talented person, even the most prideful of people couldn't stay arrogant. The dean suddenly came back to his sense and didn't care about anything as he leaped over to the plant. But when he reached the silver leaf flower pot, he halted his steps and meticulously carried it carefully. He then raised his head and laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha! My silver leaf has unexpectedly revived." He had never been this happy before. It was as though his son had been resurrected. "Oh, silver leaf, my precious, please don't ever leave me again." The dean's hands were shivering with excitement. His speech had even become incoherent for a time. Mickey, Lord of the Ring? Anyone else have the same thought? Tongue sticking out. He then seemed to think about something and turned his head toward Ru Yue and said, "Little girl, I don't know how to thank you for this. Silver leaf is my life. If it wasn't for you, I would have lost my life. Tell me what it is you want me to help you with." Glimmers flicked in Ru Yue's eyes as she replied, "Didn't you want to discuss with me about the Alchemy Book? I only have one request, that the Alchemy Book will be my possession from now on. The Central Region Academy can't take it away from me." Even though Yan Jin was powerful, he still couldn't match up with such a high-powered being in the Central Region Academy. If the Central Region Academy was persistent in wanting to take the Alchemy Book, it would be a death match. The dean was stunned before he yelled in fury, "The Central Region Academy wants to take your Alchemy Book? Which bastard wants to do that? Who is it? Once you tell me, this dean will eliminate him." Ru Yue rolled her eyes at him and asked, "Isn't that person you?" "Me?" The dean's anger gradually calmed down. He pointed to his nose and asked curiously, "I want to take your Alchemy Book? When did I want to do that?" Ru Yue was startled after hearing his words before she asked, "Why did you seek me out for today then?" "Oh, it is like this." The dean chuckled. "I just wanted to see the talent that was chosen by Alchemy Book. It seems that its choice was great. Moreover, the ancestor masters at the back mountain wants to see the owner of the Alchemy Book as well. When do you have the time to go with me and meet them?" Ru Yue's expression darkened instantly. This old man just wanted to see me just to know who the Alchemy Book chose. Why did I flatter him so much and treat his silver leaf then? Furthermore, to make him owe me a favor, I had exposed my ability before this old man. Suddenly, Ru Yue smiled and said with gritted teeth, "Meet the ancestor masters? My apologies, but I don't have time for that. Since you have already seen me, I will bid my farewell." The dean was stunned as he looked at Ru Yue's leaving figure. He scratched his head and commented, puzzled, "What is wrong with that little girl? She was fine before and now she looked as though she had eaten the wrong medicine. Didn't she say she had revered me for such a long time? Why did she suddenly turn her face?" The dean felt wronged. "I didn't do anything, right? There isn't anyone else in the world more innocent than me." If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 355, The Dean's Astonishment Part 6. Chapter 355, The Dean's Astonishment Part 6. Suddenly, an exclamation was heard, pulling the Dean out of his thoughts. "Dean, quickly look at this, dot." With a frown, the Dean blared at Song Ran, who appeared in shock and said, "Why do you need to shout? Can't you speak normally?" "No. It can't be." Song Ran raised his astonished eyes. The shock in them hadn't yet faded as he replied, "Dean, the silver leaf seemed to have grown a fold." The Dean was stunned before he hastily lowered his head to look at the silver leaf. Once he looked, he was shocked. He then forcefully suppressed his amazement before instructing strictly, "Song Ran, you are forbidden to say of anything you saw today. If I hear from others about this, you should clearly know how ruthless I can get." Song Ran bowed slightly and replied, "Dean, you do not need to worry about that. I did not see anything." "Good, very good." The Dean nodded. With a slight narrowing of his eyes, a glimmer flashed in them before he said, "I will need to make a trip to meet with the ancestor masters now." The technique of using energy to grow medicine was extremely rare, but there were still some alchemy experts in the past that had obtained this method. However, there was only one person in the past that could simultaneously save a medicinal plant and increase its age. That person was the peerless expert from thousands of years ago, Senior Yu. "No. Song Ran, you are to come with me to meet the ancestor masters." "What?" Song Ran was startled as he looked flabbergasted at the Dean. Lights flickered in the Dean's eyes as he said, "I remembered you told me that she also possessed the Phoenix Furnace. This matter should be told to the ancestor masters. I don't know how to explain it clearly, so you should do it. Quick, come with me to meet the ancestor masters now." The Dean walked out the room, pulling a dazed Song Ran with him. Song Ran was still lost in his thoughts. Who didn't know that the back mountain was the forbidden place of the academy? Nobody had ever entered that place, excluding the Dean. Who knew he would go there now? Song Ran instantly felt as though his body was floating. He was highly spirited. With a complacent smile on his elderly face, he obviously looked different than usual. Ancestor Master Huiying was sitting on a yellow mat, his eyes closed inside a cliff cave. Suddenly, when he heard footsteps from outside, he abruptly opened his eyes and shot a sharp gaze over. "Why have you come here?" The Dean immediately pulled Song Ran with him in and bowed as he reported, "Ancestor Master Huiying, this junior has something to report." "Oh? Has the owner of the Alchemy Book come?" "No, she hasn't." The Dean shook his head. When he glanced at the ancestor master's displeased expression, he quickly explained, "It is just that the girl knows how to grow medicine with energy." Huiying said with an indifferent expression, "So what?" "She managed to increase the life of the medicinal plant. An originally 1,000-year silver leaf became 2,000 years old instantly. If you don't believe, quickly look at this. I had brought silver leaf with me, dot." The Dean took out his precious treasure as he said that. Huiying knew about this silver leaf. The Dean had requested tutelage from him on how to take care of it before. It had indeed been a 1,000-year-old silver leaf, but now it had become 2,000 years old today. Boom! Huiying stood up and moved in a flash before the Dean. When his deep gray eyes looked at the silver leaf, he subconsciously became stirred up. Tears welled out from within his elderly eyes. Ancestor Master Huiying, who had always been emotionless to the Dean, was unexpectedly shaking with excitement now. Tears even flowed from his eyes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 356, Explanation? What explanation? Part 1. Chapter 356, Explanation? What explanation? Part 1. It's her. It must be her. Huiying extended his shaky hands toward the plant. His white hair made the hearts of people ache for him as he continued, "She's back. What Lord Baizhe said was right, she would definitely return. They had once followed her when they were hot-blooded and ambitious youths. Currently, several years had passed and they had all aged and died. Yet, she was now as youthful as she was 1,000 years ago. Ancestor Master, it is not only that. The little girl possesses the Phoenix Furnace. Song Ran, give the Ancestor Master a rundown. The Dean looked at Song Ran and instructed him. Yes, Dean. Song Ran suppressed his curiosity as he narrated what happened that day to Hu Ying. When Hu Ying heard that Mo Li had spoiled the pill furnace to try and sabotage Ru Yue, his anger surged forth. But when he heard about Ru Yue taking out the Phoenix Furnace for the examination, slight awe was expressed on his elderly face. That woman had changed their lives that year. Even after 1,000 years, her position in their hearts remained unchanged. She was a goddess in their heart. She was a mighty figure that mustn't be blasphemed. She was also a person that they chased after their entire life and for all eternity. Where is she now? Hu Ying raised his head and asked anxiously. About that, she refused to come here. The Dean glanced cautiously at Hu Ying before continuing. I also don't know where I had displeased and offended her. But don't worry, Ancestor Master, I will definitely bring her here. When the Dean saw Hu Ying's darkened face, he immediately raised his hand and swore. I must see her as soon as possible to be at ease. Hu Ying's expression gradually relaxed as he continued, but you are not permitted to use any forceful method. Furthermore, you must take good care of her. If she loses a single hair, I will kill you. The Dean shuddered violently as he replied with an obsequious smile, Don't worry, Ancestor Master. I will definitely protect her. All right, you are dismissed. Hu Ying waved his hand. With a gloomy expression, he commanded, As for Mo Li, there isn't a need for him to continue staying in the academy. With that simple statement of the Ancestor Master, he announced Mo Li's fate. Understood, Ancestor Master. The Dean cupped his fist before turning his head to look at the stupefied Song Ran. Why are you still in a daze? We're leaving. Song Ran abruptly came back to his senses and followed the Dean out of the cliff cave. Once he exited the cave, Song Ran's steps halted as he asked carefully, Lord Dean, who were you all referring to by her just now? Can it be Senior Yu? Song Ran was unable to say that title in the end. He just couldn't believe that the young girl was Senior Yu. But if it wasn't Senior Yu, how could the Ancestor Master make such an expression? The Dean blared viciously at him and said, You shouldn't ask anything that you shouldn't know. You just have to remember to forget everything that happened today. Do you understand? Another task is to think of a way for her to come to the back mountain willingly. The Dean was still unclear as to whether the little girl had eaten the wrong medicine until now. Why did she suddenly become angry? Dean, don't fret about that. She was just flattering you for the Alchemy Book. Moreover, she had exposed her power before you for the same reason. She, however, didn't expect that you didn't think about taking her Alchemy Book. Hence, she was slightly melancholic. She isn't angered by you and should be fine in 2 days. Once the Dean suggests the matter to her again, then, she would definitely agree to it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 357, Explanation? What explanation? Part 2. Chapter 357, Explanation? What explanation? Part 2. The Dean nodded as he thought what Song Ran said was logical. Suddenly, he realized something and glared furiously at Song Ran. You said she was just flattering me? You actually said she was just flattering me. That girl obviously heard of my name before and aimed to come to the Central Region Academy. Her expression was so sincere when she said that. How could she just be flattering me? The Dean had a complacent expression on his face as he thought about how the Prestige Senior Yu knew of his famed name. Nothing else could make him so delighted until today. Songran, you can just scram back to your alchemy hall and take good care of the little girl. If anyone dares to bully her, you can directly eliminate them for me. Upon saying that, the dean walked away with his head held high with pride. Songran was speechless. How could someone so narcissistic impress others? He sighed and turned around to head back to the alchemy hall. Yet, once Songran stepped into the hall, he saw an elder with an ashen expression sitting on a chair, awaiting his return. He couldn't help but be startled and asked, "Fuli, why are you here?" Why? Fuli chuckled coldly and continued, "Songran, it can't be that you don't know that a disciple from your alchemy hall known as Ru Yue crippled Emily with her magical beast, right?" Emily is crippled? Songran was stunned before he laughed heartily. That bastard Emily had been crippled? Ha ha! This is such a rejoicing news. Songran! Bang! Fuli slammed his palm on the table as he looked coldly at Songran, who had an elated expression. What do you mean by that? Your disciple injured my martial hall in charge. Don't you think you should give me an explanation? Explanation? What explanation? Songran sniggered. Firstly, Emily is from my alchemy hall, but was taken by your martial hall. I didn't bother with that on your behalf. But have you heard of the phrase, if one doesn't court disaster, they won't die before? He reaped what he sowed for having such an outcome. Secondly, the dean just instructed that even you won't be able to retain Emily. The dean? Fuli's expression changed and asked, "What has this to do with the dean?" Songran shrugged his shoulders and chuckled as he replied, "How can I know? Emily probably did something that provoked the dean, so he passed down such an order." Oh, that's right. There is a disciple of yours. What's her name again? Oh, it should be Lin Ruoying. You should advise her to behave herself and that the entire academy doesn't revolve around her. Songran, what do you mean by that? Fuli's expression narrowed as a cold ray of light appeared in his eyes. He continued, "How did the kind-hearted Ruoying offend you? You can toss any grudges onto me. Our grudges don't have nothing to do with her." It was undeniable that Fuli doted on his disciple. He treated her as his own biological daughter, so how could he allow others to trample over her? Songran pouted and replied, "Whatever you think then. Honestly, I dislike Lin Ruoying. If your martial hall provokes me again, the alchemy hall won't distribute any more pills to the disciples of the martial hall. You think you're all so mighty? Then, you just have to think of other ways to improve your strength yourselves." Fuli's expression suddenly changed. His grudge with Songran was really deep. He didn't dare to fall out with him until now for that exact reason. The disciples of the martial hall wouldn't be able to increase their strength as rapidly as they could now if the supply of pills from the alchemy hall stopped. Songran, you are misusing your powers to avenge your personal matters. Aren't you afraid the dean will remove you from your post and punish you? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 358, Yi Wuchen's Return Part 1. Chapter 358, Yi Wuchen's Return Part 1. Punish me? Songran was stunned before bursting out with laughter. Ha ha ha. If you're so capable, then go ahead and report my mistakes to the dean. I will definitely welcome you to do so. Someone, escort this old man out. We shall see who the dean sides with. Fuli's expression changed. He shook his sleeves before glaring at Songran as he left the room. Seeing the old man's departing figure, Songran felt unprecedentedly complacent. He was highly spirited. It had been such a long time since he had been so elated. Fuli, a muddle-minded fool like you wants to fight me? You should just wash up and go to sleep. Songran chuckled, making the people in the alchemy hall puzzled. Had that old man become senile after being angered by Fu Li? He also said he would stop the supply of pills to the martial hall. Wasn't he afraid that the dean would punish him? The crowd shook their heads. They didn't know what was wrong with the old man. The moon hung in the sky and the night backdrop was like water. A silver robe was fluttering through the night sky as it soared like a silver ray of light. This youth lowered his gaze. His divinely handsome face no longer had its usual languishing as they focused on the girl that was sitting cross-legged in the room. Longing filled his black eyes.